trials, tribulations, technology struggles, the whole 9 yards. And I'm still in our Skype call.
Hey kings and queens, welcome back to my channel. So in this installment of Girl Talk, I actually got the chance to sit down virtually with Talia Warren, who is an artist and interior designer based out of Los Angeles. And she basically helps people affordably curate beautiful functional spaces for themselves. My obsession with interior design really started when the pandemic hit. I was basically in the midst of moving, and I knew I was going to be going from a 2-bedroom apartment to a studio because I was going to be living alone. And I was stumped. I really didn't know how I was going to design my space and make it functional. I knew that I was going to be working from home, and YouTube honestly just became a really good source for me to learn how to style my studio apartment. So I went down the rabbit hole of just looking at apartment tours, and I came across Talia's apartment tour, and I really just fell in love with her space. I just felt like it was like a realistic tour of an apartment. You know what I mean? You know how sometimes you come across a lot of these apartment tours on YouTube, and you're just kind of like, okay, well, not everyone has, the money to splurge on these really expensive pieces for their home. You know what I mean? A lot of us are just like, just getting by, making it paycheck to paycheck. And when I saw Talia's apartment, she had such great pieces. A lot of them came from Amazon, IKEA, and it was like, I just felt like her setup was just really not only attainable, but sustainable. So forewarning, I just want to let you guys know, this Girl Talk is a very long Girl Talk. I know these videos are getting longer and longer, but Talia just had a lot of really great things to say about interior design, and that I think will benefit a lot of people during this time who are really just trying to make their spaces more functional. I don't want this video to be too long because you got a lot to watch. So let's get right into the interview. And then I just got into the rabbit hole of apartment tours on YouTube.
Oh yes.
And then I just became obsessed with small spaces. And then I saw your video and I was like, oh my God, I was obsessed. Your place in LA is so beautiful. What you were able to do with it. It just looked, and I know you've updated it since then, but I just fell in love with your space.
That was my first video, and the goal for that was that you get to know me and the apartment, because I wanted to introduce you to myself and my sense of humor and my style, because that's going to obviously permeate through all of my videos. A lot of people's spaces look very similar, and I kind of and it wasn't even a word that I would use until someone put it in the comments, an eclectic kind of style. I like a lot of color, I like a lot of plants, I have texture everywhere, and I don't want to live in a showroom or a hotel. 90% of my furniture pieces are Amazon, IKEA, Target, Wayfair, and then you just add the style and the zhuzh on top of it. So it feels really good to me that people are looking at that and it feels accessible.
I feel like that's the key word, is just accessible, because a lot of these apartment tours that sometimes I watch, it's very it's all about minimalism and
right.
Clean, and I think that's great, if that's your style, and and I definitely have a lot of friends who gear more towards that directions, but I don't know, I feel like I'm a maximalist. I love photos, I love having things on each wall. Maybe sometimes it doesn't always make sense, but a lot of times, people say, oh, well, it feels cozy, and that's kind of sometimes the feel that you want, you know what I mean? Where it's sometimes when you walk into someone's house who's very minimalistic, it's like, oh,
it looks great.
It looks great, but can I sit down?
I kind of wonder if people like that style, or if they just are emulating it because that's what's popular. Do people really want to live inside? But the thing is, they're beautiful. These are beautiful spaces. Something about just the clean, white, crisp linens and one little tree, a branch, something about that, is nice to the eye. But to live there, no. Maybe to visit there and take an Instagram picture for the weekend, but I don't want to live there. This is my home. As a stylist, a person who wants to help other people either through YouTube videos or through working with them one-on-one in their own homes. I want to help people elevate their space, but I'm not trying to make your house look like the Taj Mahal. I want you to feel comfortable in your space. I want you to feel like this is your space pushed to the limit, but not pushed past the limit of where you're comfortable, but you're in a space that looks really great.
How did you get into interior design?
I got my interior design degree from HGTV University. I majored in Property Brothers with a minor in international house hunters. So I
love that. First off, yes.
I'm completely self-taught, self-trained. I call myself a stylist and not a designer. I guess I can use the term decorator as well, because I think that interior designer, there is a lot of like schooling. You're working with architects, you know how to like design things in CAD. You're able to build things from the ground up, which is obviously an indispensable skill. And it's like something that you have to work for. I am not that. I make no qualms about being that. And I think niching down is so important for especially a new business owner. But I don't think that everybody necessarily needs an interior designer. I am living in a rental right now. I can't knock down walls. I can't make major changes. The most major change I can make in here is paint and like maybe putting down a faux laminate on top of the laminate. You don't need an interior designer who went to school and is going to be charging you interior designer money to do that. So I really feel like I have a good design sense, period. I'm an artist. I have a good design sense. I can't help people get to the point where it looks like they've had a decorator come in, knock down the walls, and do X, Y, and Z. But a lot of people don't need that. Like a lot of people need new furniture to move things around, some plants, some art, the right curtains, some throws, good storage solution because they got clutter everywhere, to clean things up and to move things around to make their space more functional. And I can help people do that. And never really paid any mind to doing that as a job or as a living until I got to the point where I could not live in the real world anymore. Like I went to college. I was a great student. I worked in human resources for almost 15 years. And then I literally got to the point where I ended up in the emergency room 2 times in 1 week for what I could have sworn was a heart attack, and they were panic attacks. And it was because I was so miserable at my job. I needed a change. And I was like, I somehow need to fall back on doing something creative because I knew that's always what I've been meant to do. I've always liked creating a nice space. I like working with my hands. I like building things. I like plants. I like art. These are kind of like all how it coalesced.
You have brought up so many good points because when you talked about how not everyone needs an interior designer, it can be as simple as just like feng shui, right? Moving things around. I switched out 2 throw pillows and I switched them out from my couch to my bed, and I literally feel like it just changed the whole space.
These 2 pillows were on my couch, these 2 white pillows, and then I started making my bed all white, and I moved these to my bed. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in a 5-star hotel. Would you look at that? Especially with like stuff you already have. You've got pillows already. Move the pillows around, move the decor around, shift things around. Like it literally could be just as simple as taking a step back and doing stuff like that can have such a huge difference. And so that, yes, I do get that. And I'm so happy that you're like, oh my God, whose house is this?
Exactly. Because it's like I've been in a situation where I've walked into someone's place and I'm like, this doesn't really seem like you. You know what I mean? And
it's like too polished for you.
This is way too polished. So one of the mistakes that I made when I was like trying to figure out what I wanted in my place is that, you know how you get into your new place and you're like, okay, I want to get everything all at once instead of like living in it for like a couple of weeks. And what I realized, first off, I bought way too much stuff. Ended up getting rid of a lot of stuff. Like, you get things and like I was saying, like you sit with it and you're like, you know what, I really don't like that. Or my style, I kind of feel like has changed, so before you get the place, you're kind of like, you put a Pinterest board together, right? And you're like, this is great. I'm going to order everything on Amazon. Everything's in my cart, Home Goods, IKEA, everything's in my cart. I'm just going to push the checkout button so I get to the apartment. And then you get to the apartment and you're like, maybe this is not the vibe anymore.
There are a few things like in terms of art stuff that I moved into this apartment from my last apartment. Right. So definitely, there are things that you can buy together and kind of that work in collection with each other, but I actually am not a huge fan of Pinterest boarding.
Okay.
When it comes to putting, because that gets you in the mind of this is what I want my space to look like, and it gets you in the mind of like, these are the things I need before you know what's going to work for your space. So I like to go into it with a complete blank. Like when I moved into this apartment, the first thing I moved in, you can't see it right now, but right off to the side is my Kallax, the divider. Kallax is a OG IKEA bookshelf. It's the number one thing that I recommend for people in studios because it's a room divider. So I'm in my living room space now, and on the other side of my Kallax is my bedroom space, and I can't see the bedroom at all because I've got all of these shelves and like storage units. I'll swing you around on my phone. So Kallax.
Oh, love it.
That's the first thing I bought when I moved into my house, empty, because I moved from a studio, I moved from a studio that also said it was 500 square feet. Somebody's lying. Either this place is 800 square feet or that place was 350. But I stayed in here with the Kallax and sleeping on the floor. Moving into a new place, get your kind of like your basics and your necessities. Recommend saving on furniture. Like you can find good furniture at Amazon, at Target. You want to get like a better quality, maybe mattress, or maybe like a nicer quality pillow. Or if you use your couch, like I don't sit on my couch at all. So I need a nice looking couch, but I don't need a super comfortable couch.
Yes.
I splurge more on my toilet seat because I sit on the toilet seat more. Bought the furniture that I needed, and then I let the other things accumulate over time. If you are styling your space in general, I would say to have kind of like an understanding of what your style sense is, and you can take quizzes online. My kind of thing with that also too is that kind of puts you in a box, right? I don't want to put people in a box because I feel like that overwhelms people, and I want to try to make styling your space as accessible as possible. So I feel when people think interior design, interior styling, it seems very inaccessible, and people are like, well, that's for rich people. I'm not even going to try. But there are things that you can do that are, very mid-range, inexpensive, that are just going to like improve the functionality. And I don't want to get people into the thought of like, oh, well, my style is minimalist, Scandi, Japandi, country house, and I need to look for things. Like I just add things, and maybe it's because I am eclectic. I just add things naturally as they feel right. And getting kind of like rooted into what you like in your space is going to help you do that. And it's going to help you identify before you purchase stuff, whether or not something is going to work in your space.
My last place, I had a roommate when I was living in Brooklyn. And, one of the things that, some of the things that we say to each other, it's kind of like, oh, well, you know what? It's like, we're not going to be here that long, so what's the point of like putting, all this money, and time into a space. Oh my God. So like the older now I'm realizing, especially since the pandemic hit, it's kind of like, even if you think you're only going to be in a space for like a year, I feel like I'm realizing it's so important to still like make it yours.
Yes. Me and my roommate in college, I lived with the same girl all 4 years. And when you walked into our bathroom, it was almost like people didn't live there. Everybody else, they had like cups with their toiletries out, toothpaste spread all over the place, decorations on the wall. And for whatever reason, I don't know if me and Deborah thought they were going to come and kick us out. Something shifty had happened. We never set up. We never spread out. We never put our stuff out. And I was like that for a long time. And I know a lot of people feel like that when they're renters too. They're like, oh, I don't want to invest in furniture or really like get good quality stuff or like start an art collection or anything because I'm only a renter. You might be renting for a long time if you live in America, because I don't know if you've heard about our economy and poverty, but you deserve the right to feel comfortable. Your space should be the space that you, if you have nowhere else, your space should be the space that you get to retreat to, that you get to feel safe in, that you get to escape in. So, you know, it might be possible that you don't need a lot of stuff to make your home feel like a home. It might be possible, but the older you get, I feel like you need more stuff. You need more stuff to be comfortable. I don't know if it's because we're women and we're like nesters. Like I'm single, I don't want kids, but I definitely feel like I have a nesting kind of like a homemaking vibe. Like I want to be comfortable in my house. I want to be able to invite people over whenever the world opens up to have, you know, a party. Like I want to be able to do that. So you know that this is not your property. You don't want to like actually invest in like making changes that are going to increase the value of the property when you're a renter. If you don't have permission to make certain changes, there's still a ton of stuff that you can do to make your home feel more like your home, even if you're only going to be there for a year.
You know, like you said, you're a renter, so you don't have the option of like knocking down walls or like completely gutting a kitchen or a bathroom.
Changing the floor or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like pulling up the floor. It's kind of like, and so what I've realized is that like, you kind of have to like maneuver and, okay, so if your floor is old, you're going to have to put down some rugs, right? Finding like cute rugs. Or one of the things that's common in New York is like it's funny, like they'll have when I moved in, my kitchen was like renovated, but the bathroom was older. So they repainted the bathroom. So I was like, okay, well, how am I going to make this work? Because everything's kind of, you know, it's dated, it's old. So I'm like, okay, let me put some cute rugs in there. And I changed the toilet seat and then the toilet seat top, which I just kind of feel like helped everything.
Right.
Even though it's just a toilet seat, I just felt like it just made it look
better. Put a little bidet on the side of that, and you're now like this is like a fancy place. Like, ooh, exactly. Little changes like that, like fixtures, swapping out the handles on things. There are actually a lot of like companies that are moving into the market to like assist renters with updates, and they're like reversible stuff. So you can put like, there's faux tiles that you can lay, like peel and stick tiles that you can lay down. There's peel and stick flooring that you can lay down. There's wallpaper that you can put up that's removable wallpaper. There's always painting, which personally, if your landlord tells you that you can't paint, I'm not saying ignore it, but you could probably ignore it. And here's why. Your landlord should be repainting when you move out anyway. So unless you're making a complete disaster of things, they should allow you to paint. Also, if you're living somewhere for more than a certain number of years, certain states have a mandate that your landlord has to paint, like just repaint the whole space for you every number of years. Like that, you can reach out and be like, hey, I looked up our state's law and I know that you're required to paint my apartment for me. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna paint it myself, the colors that I want, and I'm gonna repaint it back to white before I move out. Of course, knowing that you were always going to repaint for the next tenant anyway, lay it on thick. Things that you can do as a renter that are short-term and reversible and quick and easy to switch out. That make a huge impact, a huge impact, and increase the luxury and the class and your feeling of comfort. And you can just take all of the light fixtures down and put them in a bowl. You have the old shower head, you just save it in a baggie, and when you move out, all that stuff goes back. You swap out all the hardware again, and you know, maybe with a $150 investment for a year, you had amazing water pressure, you had a house that had like the statement wall that you wanted, maybe you had some faux tiles in the kitchen, you had all brass and gold hardware that you had swapped out everywhere, and maybe that was all that you did, but how much better was your apartment?
Okay, so let me just read some of these questions. So I got a question from a friend. So what do you do if you live in a dark space? How do you create artificial light? And are all dark spaces deal breakers?
I would say that a dark space might not be a deal breaker for some people. For me, it would be, because I have 50 plants. So I couldn't move into a place that didn't have a lot of good natural light, because my plants would be miserable, and dying plants in the background of your photos is not the look. So again, this is about knowing, what your style is, what you like, what you want. If you know that you're not the type of person that's ever going to have live plants, if you're a minimalist and you like, maybe having a dark space where you can put one lamp in the corner that casts a shadow on a branch in the park, maybe that might work for you. So not necessarily a deal breaker, especially if you can like get some other things that you want in the space, or negotiate the price down. Lighting is huge. Lighting is so important. Lighting is one of those things that kind of oscillate back and forth between whether it's something I'd recommend splurging or saving on, because obviously light is literally illuminating your space. So if you have a good looking space, no one's going to be able to see if you've got bad lighting. But also there's so many options for good lighting at different price points. So I'm kind of just like, you don't necessarily have to splurge on it, but I think you have to shop hard and well to get a lighting setup that works well for you, especially if you are moving into a space that you know is dark. So I would say not a deal breaker, but you have to be strategic with how you place your light. Definitely say try to have a like different levels of lighting. So in one space, I like to have a floor lamp. If I'm going to be sitting at a table, or there's a table anywhere, I like to have a table lamp available. And then I don't have a lot of overhead lights, but you can get like strings that you can attach basically to the ceiling. It's basically just a wire that has like the thing that you can store a light bulb in, and you can build your own kind of like chandelier around it. I have it in my office, and I'll send you a picture of it. You can swap out the covers for like boob lights and stuff. And then you can also work with the light bulbs. So daylight versus warm light. Like I have kind of like, I play with that strategically in my space. There's no sunlight getting to my bed area because of the Calax. So I have a daylight bulb in the lamp on that side, whereas I've got a warmer bulb on this side. So this bulb will come out more yellow, whereas the bulb on the other side comes out more true bright light. So even doing things like that. And then there's sneaky ways that you can add light. So if your friend is a lover of art, you can do those kind of like track lighting that you put above large art pieces. That's not going to add a ridiculous amount of light to a space, but it is going to help illuminate your art. And not every part of your space has to be daylight bright 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like,
you know what? And that's what, and I feel like that's going back to like what we were talking about, how like watching on YouTube where everyone's just kind of like, oh, well, this is just.
Yeah, everybody's got a big, huge south face window and they've got all this daylight all day. Great. First of all, I'm happy that my plants have light. I don't want sunlight streaming into my house all day. Okay, I want it to eventually get dark in here. I have a little bit dark. Can you see? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Is it a deal breaker for you in your space, or are you able to add some extra lights and change out the lumens in your light bulb and get it to be where you're happy with it?
I love.
Since you live there.
I know, right? And I love that you said that. It's kind of like, well, maybe it doesn't have to be a deal breaker. Maybe it can be like moody, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I don't know if you follow this guy. I actually just started following him on Instagram. His name is Lone Fox.
I love Lone Fox. Oh my God.
He doesn't consider himself in like an interior designer too. He just likes to make over spaces.
Right.
But when in his room makeover, like he's not afraid of dark colors, of dark moody. Right. And he lives in he lives in LA where you are, like one of the brightest places ever. But he'll paint a room a dark green and it'll be beautiful. And I'm just kind of like, okay, well, you can play with colors and dark colors. And I don't know. I just thought that's really cool because I just thought you brought up a really good point about that. It's like, oh, okay, well, not everyone likes having bright white walls. Like if you want to paint a wall green or blue, you can still make it work.
We live in a smaller space. One of the like more accepted rules is that you want to keep your walls white because it makes the space look bright. Yeah, sure, I guess. I think there's a lot of rules, like I said, like designer rules from professionals, rules that make sense because of the rules. But if they don't make sense to you and you have to live in the house, then I say forego the rules.
What is the best way to organize your space, your workspace, so that it's not entirely taking over your entire space?
I think that's a great question. First of all, you are going to want to have a space that is your workspace because, at least for me, I don't want to work, period.
Work, period. Yes.
I have a home office mainly because I'm trying to set up some tax savings in the future. Like I needed a separate space. And I do like having a separate space because in addition to not wanting to see the space that I work in, I don't want that space to be anything else.
Yeah.
So my two kind of things that I would tell people when they're thinking about how to set up a at-home office is, one, is there a space in your house that you can separate exclusively for this office? One, that's going to help you if you're trying to do some tax stuff at the end of the year. But two, that's going to help you so that you can just have an area that you can leave and come back to. And this is, again, really big for me because I'm in a studio and other people who are in a small space. I'm so big on having separate, defined, functional spaces. I don't want my bedroom to be the area where I work and do 8 million other things. I don't want, like, even my desk or even my kitchen table. I don't want the kitchen table to be also the place that I work. I want the kitchen table to be the place where I don't eat dinner, but put my shopping bags down when I'm coming into the kitchen. Like, that is a separate space. So if you can carve out a complete distinct, so even if it's small in the corner somewhere, like if you watch my apartment tour, my office desk is like a little nook underneath a cabinet in my closet. It's not a whole room. It's a pass through. I can still see that space from the rest of my space, but unless I'm sitting there and kind of engaged in work, it doesn't feel like a workspace. I'm able to make the most of that convertible space. So putting yourself in a corner where it's only work, you can put your Post-its up, you can have your little coffee cup, you can kind of be tucked away and you can walk away from that space. Because I really feel like the home office, the emphasis should be on the home and not the office. Because you want to be at home in your home more than you want your office to feel like an office in your home. So you want a comfy office space for when you're using the space, but you want that to fit into your home as much as it can. So in the corner somewhere, tucked out of the way, hidden if possible, but not everybody has the access to a separate room. But if not that, a convertible / movable option. So this is just like a clear tray that I had on Amazon. So this tray, I had my laptop that I was doing my contracting work. I had a little cup that had my pens and pencils and all that stuff. I had my Post-its. I had a clipboard that had all of my papers stapled to it or attached to it. I had my stapler and all that, and I put it in this tray. And I moved this tray from underneath the couch or underneath my table at the end of the night to the kitchen table. I did my work on the kitchen table, and at the end of the day, everything went back in this tray and I moved it away. If you are going to be using a space that's a shared space, and it's going to be like you're working at a kitchen table or you're working somewhere that's like You have a coffee table that's a convertible coffee table desk or whatever, which I wouldn't recommend, but you know, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Don't leave your computer stuff out. Don't leave your workspace sprawling out all over your home. One, that's gonna invite you to be working past when you want to. And two, it's just like, it's messy. It's if work gives you anxiety, putting all of your work in a tray and putting that tray underneath the couch at the end of the night is such a huge, like, work is done.
What are the hottest trends in terms of decor for your home this year? And then also, what are some trends that you would like to see go away?
Okay, so here's the thing with trends. I don't follow them. I have no idea what the trends are. I don't care what the trends are. I don't shop by trends, and I don't recommend people shop by trends. Again, coming back to like making your house look like an Instagram house, or like a house that looks like you're stepping out of Restoration Hardware. I don't want my house to look like that. Obviously, your shopping is going to be inspired by the trends, because like once the color of the year is released, everything at the shops are going to be in the color of the year. Once, you know, Restoration Hardware puts out their, you know, catalog, then everybody else is going to be coordinating and making, like, you know, Eames inspired chairs and yada yada yada. I would say if there is a trendy item that calls to you, that you feel like you could look at that thing in your house 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that you'll be able to add to that, go ahead and purchase it. But also the thing about trends is that they're cyclical. So like some styles are gonna come, like, oh, rattan is back. Rattan is gonna come back every 5 to 7 years. Who doesn't love rattan? As a non-professional, non-interior designer, I honestly don't really feel the need to stay on top of trend. Like, completely honest. And I do get, like, I have a whole bunch of them here. I get the magazines. I flip through them. I don't care. I like what I like. So I can see stuff and I can be inspired by it. Like these kind of like heavy wood chairs are really in this year. I like that. But it's not really like something that I would say is a style that I would push for 2021. I would show someone a chair that I like and see if they liked it, and then kind of suggest that maybe they might put a chair like that in their house. Or I would just suggest a chair that looks like this because I think it looks cool, or I think it might be a good piece for someone who lives in a small space, or a good piece for someone who has XYZ style. But like I think I mentioned before, like I don't want to make making your house feel nice and accessible. And I feel like trends and stuff like that make it really inaccessible. And also just like watching some people on Instagram or on YouTube, it's like people are really mean. Like the 10 trends I hate that make your house look tacky and cheap. And I can say things that are my opinion that I don't like about people's houses. And it's nothing more than that. But why would I? Why am I making lists of stuff that looks bad? Do you think it looks bad in your house? Like I can walk into somebody's house and have it look like what you would think a house should not look like. But it feels right for the house that I'm walking in. It feels right for the person. Like, if I walked into your house and your couch was wrapped in plastic, I would be like, what the fuck is going on? But if I walked into some old lady's house and their couch was wrapped in plastic, it would comfort me. Because that's what grandma's house should look like. That's the style for grandma's house, but that's not the style for you. It doesn't feel right. It felt right for grandma, and so it feels right for me walking into grandma's house, but it doesn't feel right for you. And so when I walked into your house, it would be like, what? How old is this? Okay. But I would smile and nod because I'm not rude. And I just feel like, you know, trends are helpful. Like I like to know what the colors are. I like to know what to expect when you're shopping, because a lot of like stuff that you're gonna find in Amazon and Target on in Walmart, on in IKEA, a lot of that is influenced by the trends that are coming down from these major design houses, yada yada yada. I like to know what to expect, but I'm not gonna ever follow the trends. I'm not gonna buy stuff because it's trendy. I'm not gonna recommend stuff because it's trendy. I'm not gonna tell someone to not buy something because it's off trend, because trends are cyclical. You have to live in this house and I don't. And, something might feel right for your space and for your house, but not feel right for me. And I wanna help you find the balance to where you feel like I'm living in the best possible version of my space, and the space works best for me, and I'm excited to show it off, but also like I still like it and it still feels good for me. Interior style and personal style is so subjective. Like I can list you a million things that I like and I don't like, and tell you things that very rich people in France and Italy like this season, and they're not gonna fit in your house. You're not gonna want to spend your money on them, and yada yada yada. Don't make it a goal to have your house look trendy. Like make it a goal to have your house feel eclectic and lived in and personal.
When you are designing your space, you really have to figure out like who you are.
Right.
And it really helps you. What I realized too is like it really helps you figure out who you are. The best compliment is when someone walks into your place and they say, "Oh my God, this is so you."
That's the reaction that I'm going for. I'm going for people that even if you don't have my style or my inclination, you still walk into my house and are wowed.
I love that.
That you can appreciate what I'm going for. And that happens outside of trends, because my house is not trendy. That happens with all of my IKEA furniture and my Amazon furniture, because that's where most of my furniture comes from. And that happens with me breaking the rules. It's hard to say to people, trust your gut, when at the same time, part of my business is acknowledging that people's guts are not as good at styling their place as maybe my gut might be, so that they need help. But that's kind of why I formulate my idea about business, is that I'm not trying to do the interior styling for you. I'm trying to help you interior style your space. I'm trying to help you kind of come to your language about your space, because that way you won't need me every year. You won't need me to like send me a picture. But I'm going to buy this at the thrift store. Do you think this will work? You'll be able to check your own gut for those kind of things.
I wanted to ask about this piece behind you. I can't stop looking at it. Because I love gold. I'm obsessed with, oh my God, I fucking love gold. I'm obsessed with it. So this looks like $1,000 painting or something crazy, and you made this yourself.
I did. So I'm gonna have a tutorial kind of like how to do it on my YouTube channel at some point in the future. But I think statement art is one of the best things that you can add to your space. Also like a large piece of art, because in a small space it draws your eye up to the ceiling, which makes your space feel larger. You have a small square footage, you want to take advantage of your vertical height. For less than $30, you can make a huge statement piece in your apartment. And if you're not the kind of person that's going to want to like settle into a space and get a lot of furniture and stuff, you're only going to be there for a year, this is a nice thing to have on your wall for a year.
Oh, thank you so much, Talia. I really appreciate this. And then send me like your like you said, send me like your website.